All right. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're watching this from. My name is Nate Cross. I'm the digital content specialist here at Troy. I'm excited to welcome you to the latest installment of Troy's Innovative Insights webinar series. The goal of this webinar is to showcase innovations in the secure document space. If you've attended the past few webinars in this series, we welcome you back. But before we begin, we'd like to go over a few housekeeping items. All questions will be taken at the end, but ask them as you think of them in the chat window. For the web version, make sure you hit send. You have to hit send for both versions, but the web version can be a little tricky. Also, in our effort to constantly improve these webinars, be on the lookout for a brief survey later today and let us know what you liked and what we can improve on. Now I'd like to introduce our presenter for today's webinar on Troy FlexPay, Mr. Bob Eyrig. Bob Eyrig is a highly accomplished professional with a proven track record for success in his role at Troy, where he serves as the product manager for several of Troy's software products. With an extensive background in product management and a deep understanding of the market, Bob has played a pivotal role in development and growth of Troy's SaaS offerings. Through his strategic vision and relentless dedication, Bob has driven the success of Troy FlexPay, enabling the company to become a leading player in the accounts payable automation software industry. Bob, whenever you're ready, take it away.
Will do, Nate. Thank you so much. Appreciate the kind introduction, of course. And like I've mentioned in the past, I really appreciate the opportunity to be a part of these Innovative Insight series webinars. It's been a lot of fun so far. We have one more to go. Unfortunately, as it is right now, that data is going to be TBD on the Micro with Color topic. So one final session left before we wrap up for 2023, but please tune in, once that date becomes available, of course. And with that, before I go ahead and put my face on mute, just wanted to talk about our agenda today. So pretty high level introduction to Troy generally. We'll introduce FlexPay, take a step back, talk a little bit about about the product story, do a live demonstration, and then talk about a few other interesting matters regarding our relationship with QuickBooks generally. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn myself off so we can go ahead and get the ball rolling here. And a bit about us, a bit about Troy and where Troy FlexPay sits into our product portfolio. And I think it's very important to talk about magnetic ink character recognition technology, or Spec E13B Miker. And this is really a big part of Troy's core business and its history. And so it's something that we definitely want to lay the foundation for, and especially since we bring it back up later in the webinar today, whenever we get into talking about FlexPay specifically. So the specification E13B Miker is a standard maintained by ANSI, the American National Standards Institute. It's the most common specification used in North America. There are others, of course, but again, the most commonly used and required specification in NA. And I'm sure most of you have used checks, of course. Otherwise, why I think that's probably a big reason why you're here, because a little bit about Troy and some of the things that we've done in this space. But if you look at the bottom of a given check, most checks, there will be a specially designed set of numbers and symbols, which is called the microline and the micro characters. And it is printed in magnetic ink or toner, required by banks and clearinghouses. And for this to work properly, for micro to work successfully, the characters must be accurately printed according to very precise specifications. Troy has invested a lot of time and effort into this technology, and for good reason. And I kind of started talking about this in reverse order as you see it on the screen, but I think it's good to talk about micro generally and then work backwards to checks themselves. Specifically, check stock, pre-printed and blank check stock. and as it implies, pre-printed check stock, pre-printed information. And the purpose of this type of check stock is to offer convenience, a slight time savings in reality. But there are many reasons, why we might not want to consider blank check stock, other than if you're using this type of check stock for regular transactions, if it's always going to the same payee, so on and so forth. But whenever it comes to blank check stock, there are many advantages in what we try to communicate to our customers. And as the name also implies, blank check stock, no pre-printed information, unlike pre-printed check stock. The advantages here: higher security, the reduced risk of chain of custody based fraud, the lack of account information, lack of that microline before it's actually needed, before it's actually printed, reduces the opportunity for fraudsters for that physical risk of somebody who shouldn't obtain that checking information, obtaining that checking information. And as far as flexibility, used for multiple accounts or payment purposes, of course. I mean, if you're cutting checks to various vendors or various payees, I mean, blank check stock is the way to go. And I'm just touching the tip of the iceberg here. Once we get to some of the later webinar sessions, the Innovative Insights, this topic will be discussed in more detail, but we need to at least lay the foundation here in order for some things with FlexPay to make a little bit more sense as we discuss it. So we talked about the specification generally. Troy also is a leader in providing microtoner that offers top-level security. In fact, the most commonly referred to as the world's most fraud-resistant microtoner, and that is the Microtoner Secure, which is meant to stop check fraud before it even happens. With the Microtoner Secure, any attempts to chemically alter a check containing it, typically referred to as check washing, will cause a chemical reaction. And the result here is that the Microtoner Secure will bleed a red dye that is easily identifiable by banks as a check washing attempt, and effectively voiding the check void before that fraud can take place. So again, the technology, this topic generally, we're going to have other sessions that are more focused on it, but also very important. This is what we try to communicate to our customers as far as providing the most secure check printing experience and ensuring that their check security is top notch. So if you don't believe it, believe me, maybe you can believe some of the partners that we have deep relationships with, and I'm sure you're well aware of a few of these names, like J.P. Morgan, Bank of America, Citibank, Barclays, just to name a few. But Troy is a recognized leader in this space and check printing technology. But while we certainly want to lay the foundation there for Troy and its core business historically, Troy is really a secure printing solutions provider, providing a range of customizable options for small to medium-sized businesses who use QuickBooks as a business management platform, like we'll be talking about today, and Troy FlexPay at the bottom. Medium to large-sized businesses that need to print payroll, banks and credit unions, EOBs, and other types of secure impersonal financial documents, and so on and so forth. And as far as our history of innovation in developing partnerships, as you can see here are a few key milestones, over time, starting in 1963 with Troy's founding. 1975, the collaboration with Fed to create the US Treasury check. 93, becoming the only HP OEM authorized partner that can modify and resell HP printers with additional security features. 2021, the launch of our SurePay cloud product, which is a check printing software for medium to large sized businesses. And in 2022, and the topic of today, the launching of Troy FlexPay as an automating payments solution for QuickBooks users. And before we move on, we do need to address the elephant in the room in a sense. And like I've mentioned on some previous webinars, yes, check printing is generally on the decline over time for the past 30 years, about a rate of 4% year over year. And over those same 30 years, it's been said that checks are simply going away, but that's just simply not the case, at least not for a long time, we feel. And in fact, checks remain approximately 80% of all banking transactions today. So yes, it's on the decline. It's an older technology that is being substituted by digital payments and so on and so forth. But it's still a main form of payment today. And as far as Troy is concerned, we offer end-to-end check and documents printing solutions, whether it be, again, from printing to zero blank stock that enables banks and businesses to take an on-demand printing approach to check printing, micro printers that give functionality needed, such as the microline and alignment, which we'll talk about here a bit later on in today's webinar, and micro fonts. Microtoner Secure, again, something else that we briefly mentioned that prevents fraud due to the alteration resistant capabilities or technology, digital signatures, and so on and so forth. And to tie everything together, our flagship payment software for QuickBooks users in what we're going to be discussing today in further detail and moving on, and that is Troy FlexPay. Troy FlexPay, we're going to do a high-level overview and then we'll dive into the specifics. I kind of like to work backwards in a sense, but generally speaking, Troy FlexPay is the secure payment processing solution for businesses using QuickBooks. We support a range of secure payment methods, print your own check locally to blank stock using Troy printers. Does not necessarily have to be Troy printers, but we certainly, for the security, the experience, the technology that Troy uses in its products, we certainly want to communicate the value in that in printing using our other products. Check fulfillment services, we handle the check check writing, the stuffing, the stamping, the sending. ACH payment processing, digital checks, which we'll talk a little bit more in detail again later on in the presentation. But all in all, the idea to increase the accounts payable, the payments workflow efficiency, and enhance the QuickBooks customer experience. But before we move on, like I said, we're going to work backwards. Now we're going to jump to the product story a bit and why it exists in the first place. So, our product story. If we look or think about the general workflow of accounts payable, in reality, this is generalized. There are many nuances from business to business, but from receiving invoices to reviewing, approving, processing payments, recording payments, there are many steps to this process. But for the sake of today's presentation, we're going to focus on the latter two steps, the payment processing and the recording. So if we think about the payments processing challenges, and this is a handful, but, and I'm sure there are more that we can talk about and name. Payments errors is certainly a big one. Overpayments, we're talking about straining cash flow. Underpayments, it certainly can affect the relationships with suppliers if you're not paying them the right amount or enough to cover their invoices. Duplicate payments, those can be costly to reverse and rectify and complicated. Missed payments, again, just like underpayments, if we're not paying our suppliers at all, that can certainly be a problem. Can incur late fees, impact credit terms, affect the supply chain for your business. How about inaccurate data entry? Financial discrepancies, they can certainly affect a business's budgeting, financial, tax reporting efforts, without a doubt. And unauthorized or unapproved payments. This one, you can become exposed to financial losses and potential legal consequences, of course, if you're violating specific terms with a supplier in a way that could be certainly problematic. And last but not least, fraud. I mean, we could have an entire webinar just based upon fraud itself, and in fact, we might just do that. But fraud can certainly lead to significant financial losses and damage reputation and affect your business from an overall standpoint. So it's nothing necessarily surprising as part of this payments processing list is concerned. If we talk about the recording step, that has its own host of problems that come with consequences. If we're thinking about late recording, recording issues, I mean, that can certainly lead to accounting and tax compliance issues, failure to reconcile payments, discrepancies, and difficult to track expenses certainly can be problematic, leading to inefficiencies, having to go back and do that extra work and identifying and resolving those payment issues. Compliance issues can certainly lead to fines and legal consequences if remittances aren't processed correctly, or if we're not remitting sales tax correctly. 1099 reporting if a vendor is an independent contractor, if we're complying with the right processes, with the right regulations, certainly problematic. And then cash flow issues. Whenever we're talking about accounts payable and the future, cash flow and how to optimize it is certainly a hot button item. And without an effective accounts payable reporting process, it could impede the ability to meet financial obligations and grow and understand and identify the insights needed to optimize your cash inflows and outflows. And keep these risks in mind while we shift to and review how Troy FlexPay enables SMBs to meet and overcome some of these challenges. We're gonna get to that here very, very shortly. But there's also, I don't necessarily want to call it an elephant, but something else that needs to be addressed. Why QuickBooks? And QuickBooks, as of 2023, owns approximately 40% of the total market share in the business management, the accounting platform space, with about 7.8 million, about 8 million QuickBooks online customers, and about 1 million QuickBooks desktop customers. So 40% of total market share, I mean, that is significant. And whenever we were developing Troy FlexPay, we wanted to ensure that we aligned our integration efforts with the software that the majority of our customers are using. 40% is a huge number, and to be clear, QuickBooks, like other robust accounting platforms, already provide a level of accounts payable functionality. We just simply make it better, and we will show you how with Troy FlexPay. So as I mentioned, whenever we were going through a few of those issues in the payments processing, recording phases of the accounts payable process, if we think about those issues or bring those issues back into focus and how Troy FlexPay helps overcome them, payments processing issues, let's start there. And it's no mystery that businesses and consumers alike are shifting their payments to digital methods. And in fact, according to a survey conducted by the AFP, the Association of Financial Professionals, more than 50%, and it's more likely more than 60% of B2B payments were made digitally in 2022, and it's only increasing. On the other hand, about 33% of businesses still find value in maintaining the ability to efficiently produce physical checks. We in our early research on this topic, we surveyed many businesses that simply found value in maintaining the ability to write checks, whether their vendors weren't quite ready for it or they like the tangible aspect of writing checks, whatever it may be, having that that point of transition into digital checks while still being able, or digital payments while still having the ability to produce physical checks was certainly a point of value in our research. But in terms of FlexPay, like the name itself, implies flexibility. With FlexPay, we allow businesses, QuickBooks users to pay vendors the way that they prefer, whether it's printing to their own check stock, and again, emphasizing the use of secure Troy printers, microtoner secure, and blank check stock for various benefits that were cited earlier on in today's webinar. And as of today, QuickBooks and many other accounts payable software are only or payment software, I should say, or integrations are only capable of printing to pre-printed check stock. And again, that's not necessarily, I don't want to say necessarily a limitation, but it is if security is top of mind. It has its place, but again, we emphasize security in this space. Check fraud is one of the primary targets for fraud, that and ACH. So, this is something that we definitely want to emphasize by printing your own check and using the right materials, the right stock, the right devices. Check fulfillment. Mentioned this also in our high-level overview of FlexPay. USPS first class, of course, we have 3-day ACH, as well as digital checks. And digital checks, it may seem slightly confusing or I guess misleading, but it more so, or I guess the point of the digital checks is for users, for businesses that don't know how their vendors or don't know their vendor's preference for receiving payment. And we will discuss that a little bit further as we go through our live demonstration. If we talk about our additional payments processing issues, the payment errors, with Troy FlexPay, the invoice data and the payment values are derived directly from the invoices entered into QuickBooks. That means there's no manual data entry in either direction regarding the value of the payment required, and so you can't alter it. There's no. And well, if we think about the invoice being entered into QuickBooks, I mean, of course, yeah, that's the point in which that information needs to be cached. But as far as FlexPay is concerned, it's all automated, and that works. That's favorable in terms of duplicate payments as well, and we minimize that with automation, missed payments. With our easily navigable and actionable dashboard, as you can see an example here, it allows users to clearly understand payments coming due and past due with ease. Everything is right there, very simple to navigate, and users understand whether their payments are coming due, past due, in progress, completed, so on. We'll get more into it again, similarly to some of these other things once we get into the live demonstration. How about unapproved payments? This was one of the issues certainly with the payments processing step, and with Troy FlexPay, users never have to let high value payments process without the right approvals. With our product, you can set up, or businesses can set up 2 levels of value-based approval rules. And this is just, for example, these infographics. So if we for example, had a limit, or we did not want to cut checks or payments with a value of over $1,000 or over as approval stage or level 1, and we could set another for a higher limit for 2 approvers. And what happens is, and we'll explain in the live demonstration as well, an email notification is sent to the approval contact that's assigned. The approval contact that is assigned would need to go back into the application and approve the payment before it's actually processed. So again, some tools to help prevent instances where unapproved payments or payments that shouldn't be made are made. And how about fraud prevention? This is certainly an important issue, as we discussed earlier and at various times. But in terms of payment process issues, looking at that specific subtopic, with Troy FlexPay, there's a robust but streamlined verification. There are a set of robust and streamlined verification processes that need to take place before it's even attempted with a given account. In the ability to print the blank stock over pre-printed stock, like we mentioned multiple times before, I mean, that is certainly, one of the other key aspects or area that Troy FlexPay helps reduce the instance of fraud. And I also wanted to note, and it kind of fits here, but nonetheless, something very important note about our application. And from an application security standpoint, FlexPay is continuously maintained at a 950 UpGuard score. And what that is, UpGuard, it's a measure of security risks and vulnerabilities and overall cybersecurity posture. So 950 is the highest out of the scoring ranking and is highest of the top 5 players in the QB payments automation space. So definitely something else to emphasize and demonstrate our commitment to not only fraud, but application cybersecurity generally with our product. If we work into those record-keeping issues, late recording, failure to reconcile, again, that direct integration with FlexPay, there's an automatic synchronization that, complete payment information to users' QuickBooks, it is automatically synchronized. So there is no double data entry that needs to occur, no manual data entry that needs to take place in QuickBooks separately. Once it occurs in FlexPay, that information is automatically sent over to QuickBooks, again, either desktop or online. There's certainly a difference in speed of synchronization, just inherently to the nature, the hosting nature of the product. But nonetheless, that information, again, automatically synchronized. If we go back to cash flow, again, the lifeblood of businesses and their growth, especially small businesses, Troy FlexPay provides the level of visibility and automation mechanisms to optimize cash flow, whether it's strategically making payments based on due dates and cash inflows, leveraging payment methods that minimize costs and maximize security with the variety of payment methods that we offer in our product, in a complete audit trail of past payments, which, in addition to audit purposes, could provide valuable payments patterns insights over time and allow users to make more informed payments decisions. So with that, enough with the slides here for a moment. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to our live demonstration. Zoom in just a bit here. So once a user enters our application, they're immediately presented with the core functions and features of FlexPay. And that being the bills section, the ability to pay bills, and the vision on bills that are past due, coming due, due beyond 7 days, so on and so forth. So again, immediately presented with the information that they need to execute the payments that they need to and pay their vendors. We offer a few different options as far as payments are concerned, either bills, which a user is able to pay on an individual payment basis, batch payments, where a user can select multiple invoices to pay simultaneously, or if a vendor has multiple, let me find a good one here to present, Tanya's Nursery, our hypothetical Tanya's Nursery. Say, for example, a vendor was concerned about the costs of receiving all of payment for all of these invoices on a separate basis, because in certain cases that incurs a cost. If we wanted to minimize the amount of or minimize the cost that a vendor would incur with multiple invoices, we could simply combine them into a single invoice. But we'll get to that here in a moment. Let's go back to processing payments on an individual basis. So let's say, for example, I wanted to pay this very large hypothetical invoice for Hall Properties. Quite simply, we select the invoice outstanding, the payment method. In this case, we have enabled 3-day ACH, print your own check, for check fulfillment services. And the payment methods available are adjustable according to the user within the settings tab, but we'll work our way there. In this case, I want to process a print your own check, or print a check locally to my micro printer. Quite simply, select that payment method, the bank account. In this case, we only have one bank account linked, but if you had multiple, the other bank account options would show up here as well. Under the delivery information, again, all of this vendor information is automatically synchronized, pulled over from QuickBooks. So you do not have to alter any of this. Now, granted, if some pieces of information aren't present within QuickBooks, then we do offer the option to add that information as necessary. But any information regarding a vendor's mailing address or vendor attributes are automatically pulled over and synchronized so that we can very quickly issue a payment. Check date, check number, a memo if desired, review payment, where all of the information regarding that payment is available for review before you begin processing it. And again, simplicity, ease of use, efficiency. Once at that point, we can go over to our In Progress tab. Now you'll see here, we have some approval rules set in place. And so approval pending, we cannot process this payment until the approval, which is not me in this case, we're waiting approval by one of our other Troy team members. So we're not gonna focus on that one. It more or less just demonstrate the fact that no, I cannot cut this very large check without the approval by the right approver. But we do have another check outstanding and ready to print. That being said, simply select the check that we want to print. And as a PDF, we have our check ready to be printed onto our check stock. Very simple. If we look at the other payments again, very similar for check fulfillment services, similar pieces of information. For 3-day ACH. 3-day ACH is a bit different. In this case, we don't have to necessarily include or verify all of the information at this point for the vendors. In this case, we simply provide the payee's email address, go through the review payment process. As long as the information checks out and is correct, process that payment, and the vendor, the payee the recipient would receive an email regarding the next steps to continue to receive that payment. Very simple stuff. And again, purpose built for the QuickBooks users. We want to make their lives as easy as possible with this topic, within making payments, providing the flexibility to do so in security. Batch payments, I briefly talked about this or introduced it. So quite simply, in this case, we would just select all of the invoices that we wanted to pay at once, reducing the amount of effort and the work that needs to be done by the user. And quite simply, in this case, if we wanted to print 4 checks for 4 invoices, we go through a very similar process as we did. What is, okay, we are missing a street address. So as I mentioned, if there is missing information from QuickBooks, from a vendor profile in QuickBooks, you do have the option to add that. So I'm going to for demonstration's sake, back that off, because I don't need to come up with that information at the moment. But nonetheless, if we want to pay these 3 invoices, here we go. It's a very similar process to just cutting an individual payment. So in terms of efficiency, the ability to process all of these payments at one time certainly minimizes the time required to issue those payments. Whereas, or I guess compared with processing payments on an individual basis. And finally, as I mentioned, referring back to our hypothetical Tanya's nursery, the option to combine multiple invoices into a single payment. In this case, again, similar process, information pulled over from QuickBooks. We wanted to do a check fulfillment. Here we go. Check fulfillment services, all of the invoice numbers provided so that the recipient knows which invoices that the payment is being applied to, and easy peasy, and you're off to the races. So those are really the core, or that is really the core set of functions within FlexPay. Again, we do have approval rules, the two-tier approval rules, 1 and 2. In this case, we're set to 1,000, so on and so forth, customizable according to a business's needs. And I want to say that there's more to it, guys, but this is really what this is all about, is simplicity, enabling users to get work done efficiently, synchronizing properly, pulling the right information over, pushing the right information back to QuickBooks, and using the payments workflow in that process. So that being said, I'm going to jump back over into our slide deck here. I have just a few more slides, and then we're going to go ahead and break for or round it out with questions. I'm sure there are many, but at any rate, let's talk about availability. So as of today, QuickBooks is available both directly within the QuickBooks App Store. You can simply go to the QuickBooks App Store website, type in Troy FlexPay, and you will immediately find access and details to Troy FlexPay. Alternatively, you can go directly to troyflexpay.com, where you can either sign up directly for a free 30-day trial, or you can schedule a demo with one of our experts and walk through a similar demonstration as we did today. And we also wanted to note, something else very important. Troy is a QuickBooks solution provider. So yes, to show commitment to our relationship with QuickBooks and integrating with QuickBooks and developing, collaborating on developing products in the long run, Troy is now a QuickBooks solution provider. So what does that mean for Intuit's customers, for Troy and Intuit's customers? Well, for new, small, medium-sized businesses, QuickBooks Desktop customers, and users of alternative accounting software programs, they can now elevate their business management process by signing up for QuickBooks Online directly through Troy, directly through the troygroup.com website. And it is, while we certainly want to help QuickBooks Desktop users move to QuickBooks Online, we do want to emphasize that Troy FlexPay still supports both QuickBooks Desktop and QuickBooks Online. So certainly there is a real benefit, as we're going to talk about, to moving to online, but wanted to reemphasize that FlexPay is still compatible with desktop. So why QuickBooks Online? I love this slide. It kind of demonstrates the ecosystem, or gives an illustration of the ecosystem surrounding QuickBooks. And the idea is simple: always be connected to your data. The cloud-based nature of QuickBooks Online enables its users to access using the product using any browser and internet connection. So in terms of accessibility, it's there. Always be connected. Automate manual work. With QuickBooks Online, not only does the base product, whatever tier it may be, provide a solid base of performing a business's management processes, its accounting functions. very efficiently. But QuickBooks also has integral modules like payroll, QuickBooks Time, and payments to help support specific functions that a business requires to operate efficiently and profitably. It also offers the tools required to grow with the business in its continuously growing third-party app ecosystem. And you can see, obviously, Troy FlexPay at the very top. We want to be front and center in this movement, the continuous development of the QuickBooks ecosystem. But there are a variety of tools, a variety of application integrations to help tailor QuickBooks to a specific business's needs. Touching back on some statistics, some of what QuickBooks desktop users are saying about making the switch to QuickBooks Online. And I don't need to read this verbatim, but you can see here, according to I believe it was a 2020 survey or 2021 survey conducted by QuickBooks, 9 out of 10 QuickBooks desktop users that moved to QBO say it's the best ROI for a variety of reasons: ease of use, fast connectivity, synchronization, updates. 80% of those same users say that the insights on the go have more real-time value, more real-time business insights than they had previously with QBD. In terms of speed to value, the realization of value with QuickBooks Online, 3 out of 4 users wish that they would have switched from desktop sooner. So this is what its customers are saying. I mean, these are real, these are significant, and Troy is helping aid that transition for QuickBooks desktop users and other accounting platform users as well, transitioning to QuickBooks Online. So that was a mouthful. Let's wrap it up or circle back around to the key points here, a summary of key insights. The accounts payable process, especially for small to medium-sized businesses, each phase presents its challenges. We talked about those issues specifically surrounding the payments processing and record-keeping issues, whether it be from payment flexibility, payment errors, mispayments, fraud, to issues like cash flow optimization and failure to reconcile payments. All of those issues can be, or those challenges can be overcome by Troy FlexPay, which is a purpose-built application for meeting these AP process challenges through automation and flexibility, like our local check printing capability to blank stock, among the other payments possibilities. And finally, a demonstration of commitment to building a relationship with QuickBooks and becoming a QuickBooks solution provider. Troy is committed to helping small to medium-sized businesses and businesses using QuickBooks generally succeed by providing an alternative pathway to becoming a QuickBooks Online user. So with that said, I'm sure there are many questions. I haven't checked the questions list to this point. It was focused on providing the right amount of content, the right content to you here today. And so, that being said, I think it's time to open it up and answer any questions that might have come across along the way.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much, Bob, for that informative presentation on Troy FlexPay and all of its benefits. We do have a few questions here. If you're ready for me to fire away.
Yeah, fire away, man. Absolutely.
Let's do it. So one question we have is, does Troy FlexPay require a Troy printer and check stock in order to print checks?
So that is a very good question. So I think I might have alluded to it in one way or another, but no, FlexPay does not require Troy printers and accessories to print checks. However, we highly encourage the use of Troy security printers, just because we offer features that nobody else offers in their hardware, that minimize the chain of custody issues and maximize efficiency. And our printers are designed to produce correctly aligned checks with the correct fonts and the correct font weights. Misaligned check contents and incorrect fonts, their weights are more likely to be rejected by banks, and it does not take much of a deviation to cause a check to be rejected by a bank. It is a precision or precise matter. And so, no, it is not required, but we are experts in this space and have a lot of history in this space. And so we certainly encourage it and can connect interested users with the right experts to ensure that the most cost-effective options are presented to anybody who's interested.
Okay, great. Another question here. So this is for anyone that's experienced problems with any other QuickBooks integrations, and if they've tried to get live support and were unable to. Does Troy offer live support for FlexPay?
A short answer, absolutely. This is a big deal. And Troy understands that timely support in this area is crucial. I mean, just inherent to what it is that users are trying to do, and the importance of getting vendors paid quickly, the right amount of being paid, all of the issues that we talked about. You know, in certain cases, it's customer support is just crucial in this space. And we also recognize that chatbots and delayed email exchanges are not efficient and can become very frustrating. I mean, it's evident in a lot of other products, reviews. I mean, this is a big deal in this space. So we have a dedicated support solutions, software solution support ready to help guide customers to success here and help overcome any issues that might come up along the way. I mean, honestly, they will happen from time to time. This is why we have dedicated support here in this area. But of course, we do need to be clear that or establish that that support is available within typical business hours like Monday to Friday, 8 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we have dedicated live support. This is an area that we recognize that is crucial for success. So again, coming back to that short answer, absolutely.
Awesome, thank you. I was going to ask it when was the live support available, but you took it right out of my mouth. Regular business hours. The next question we have is where can someone go to book a Troy FlexPay demo? Where would the best place be?
So let me back up here a few steps. If somebody wanted to schedule a live demo, they could do it directly through troyflexpay.com. You're immediately presented with the option to sign up free, which is will direct you to signing up for a 30-day free trial, or you can select schedule a demo where an inquiry would be directed or put in contact with one of our sales experts.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much, Bob, for presenting today on Troy FlexPay. It was a very informative presentation. I'd like to thank everyone for attending this webinar today. We hope you walk away with more knowledge on Troy FlexPay. And if you want to re-watch this webinar, we have it recorded and it will be available to watch on YouTube for your on-demand viewing pleasure. You can also be on the lookout for the survey later today, and also be on the lookout for our upcoming Innovative Insights webinars happening here at Troy. We hope you register for each and every one of them. I'd like to say thank you again. Thank you, Bob. If there's nothing else you'd like to add, I'd like to wrap it up here.
No, Nate, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity. I hope this was useful, and look forward to talking to everybody here soon.
Yep. Thank you so much. Everyone have a great day. Thank you. Bye.
Take care.